It's great. We have such a wonderful turnout today to honor Jesse Pacheco and to add a very significant asset to our marine safety complex and to our fire department in particular. Let me add a little bit of context, and I don't think it's supposed to rain today, but I'll get right to it. So, we stand here at a time when the Port of New Bedford, the nation's leading commercial fishing port, is growing and really asserting itself in every way. I'm going off later today to a meeting, the Seaport Economic Council, to talk a little bit about fishing and some other things. And it got me taking a look back at some of the profile of our port, some of the data concerning fishing and the other industries we have here on the waterfront. And this is by far and away the largest commercial fishing port in the United States. Some $329 million worth of fish were landed last year. The second is Dutch Harbor, Alaska, at $191 million. Only about 2/3 of what we do. We are the Port of Boston has roughly 14 active fishing vessels. We have about 300 here. It is a hive of activity. It is a major American port, and it is the fishing industry is just part of what's going on here. That's really new and exciting. We're standing right in front of the Nantucket ferry, which is brand new and is bringing record number of passengers over to the islands this year. That warehouse right there at the State Pier is about to undergo a $4.5 million upgrade so that it'll be refrigerated over the course of the summertime. That warehouse has seen a more than doubling of cargo tonnage in the last few years, and we think with refrigeration it's going to double even more. And then again, putting a lot of people to work. And then there's the recreational sector that has been growing so fast that for the first time in many years our marina has a waiting list. And then there's the offshore wind industry. And if anybody looked at today's paper, you can tell that the industry is starting to show up after the governor signed the most recent energy bill on Saturday. That is going to be another huge industry and a big part of our economic base going here. What does this all add up to? It adds up to the fact that the Port of New Bedford is growing. It's growing economically, and it's growing in stature. And we have, as a port, as public officials, have to keep up with the growth by making sure that folks are safe out on the water. Maritime safety is a serious matter. We have literally thousands of people coming and going all the time in this harbor, and with the threat of weather, especially this time of the year, harsh weather, and just the sheer volume of activity, we have to keep close tabs on where they are and under what conditions they're traveling. So we're lucky though that we have, and fortunate I should say, that we have a group of government agencies that work very closely together to ensure the safety of folks in and around the harbor and beyond. And that includes the Harbor Development Commission with our harbor master, David Congdon, as well as our police department, the environmental police, state environmental police as well, and it includes our fire department, which has over the years under the leadership of Mike Gomes had an increasing presence in and around not just our particular harbor but Buzzards Bay. And the chief will be first to tell you that things have not been quiet. The fire department has successfully saved a number of folks in recent years, some of whom you know about, some of whom you don't, because they get out there and they get after it every day and they respond within a moment's notice, and they do it very, very effectively. So we're here today to really mark an occasion in which we're going to be equipping the fire department with something new, something cutting edge that will allow them to do their job more effectively and keep up ahead of the challenges that we foresee here in a growing port. And that in particular is this vessel right behind me, which we'll go into some detail about in a second. But this is a brand new, state-of-the-art fire rescue vessel that will enable the fire department to reach folks way out in Buzzards Bay and across the harbor in just a few moments. And that's what they deal with when it comes to fighting fires or responding to other public emergencies. The fire department has to act quickly. They're very, very good at it, very accomplished, but they also need to have the tools to do their job the right way. This, and I'm going to have Chief Gomes go into some of the details in a second, but it's we're very proud that we can pull this together, and it's through the efforts of our fire department, Chief Gomes, as well as our CFO Ari Skye, and the Harbor Development Commission, as well as the City Council, that we've been able to pull together the funding for this. The vessel will be paid for largely out of a DHS, Department of Homeland Security, Port Security grant, as well as through city funds as well. There's a city match to this, but this has all the state-of-the-art features. It replaces an older vessel that was good but not great. This is a great vessel, and what's most fitting to my mind is that it is going to be named, in the tradition of the fire department, it's going to be named after a firefighter who lost his life in the line of duty, and that's Jesse Pacheco. And we're honored here to have his widow and his family here to christen the vessel, and I'm not going to steal their thunder at all, but Mrs. Pacheco, I just want to say we're so pleased to have you here today. We know this is a very proud moment for the Pacheco family and for the entire fire department, for everybody who works here on the waterfront and tries to make things a little safer for everybody. It takes a lot of teamwork, and we're honored that we're able to do this in the name of your husband, Jesse. I will note that Mark Pacheco, his son, is a longtime firefighter. Mark is here today. I know Mark is very proud of this moment as well. So with all that, I'm going to leave the details to others, to Ari in terms of financing, and to the chief in terms of just the operational capacity and some of the features of the vessel. But I just want to say this is part of a larger effort, to grow the port and to modernize what the city of New Bedford does day in and day out. We are keen on delivering better services, to strive for excellence in everything we do, and to be known as the best. And that's what we're all about here in New Bedford. With all that, I want to thank the City Council, City Council President Linda Morad, and Ward 5 Councilor Carrie Winterson are both here today. The City Council supported this all the way and recognized that this is a very important investment in the port and in public safety in our community, and in the fire department in particular. And it's it's that kind of collaboration between the executive branch, the mayor, and the legislative branch, the City Council, that makes things go. So Linda, I would just ask you to come on up and say a few words, and thank you again for all of your support.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today with my colleague, Councilor Carrie Winterson, to support this effort and to honor Lieutenant Pacheco and the Pacheco family. We thank you very much for his service. And it's absolutely wonderful to see so many of the retirees here and current officers of the fire department. It's nice to see that you continue to support the firefighting family. It's always been a pleasure to work with you, and we look forward to our continued collaboration. With regard to the vessel behind us, it was the council's honor to be part of the process. I know Chief Gomes has been working very hard to make sure that the equipment in the fire department, including that here on the waterfront, is up to date and is best for the men and women that serve in the New Bedford Fire Department. And so again, we thank you for allowing us to be here and being part of the process, and may this boat float for many years. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. I want to call up Chief Gomes and then Ari Skye. So this is a really good example of the kind of leadership that Mike Gomes brings to the fire department. It's no secret that the city has limited resources in the way of money, but it's not limited in its ability to think outside the box and be creative and continue to improve despite financial constraints. And so Mike Gomes is an example of a department head who understands that money's not growing on trees here, but that doesn't stop us from getting better. And the reality is the fire department continues to get better all the time, and I can tell you as mayor, I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the hard work that our firefighters do to get better all the time, and I'm very proud of the chief for his commitment to excellence and for doing things a little bit differently to modernize the fire department, notwithstanding some of the financial constraints that we face as a city. So Mike, come on up and tell us a little bit about the vessel.
Certainly. Thank you. Well, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Sky, and members of the department, retirees, and the Pacheco family, thank you for joining us on this special day. It's a very important day to me, and I believe it's also to the Pacheco family. For a long time, our responses on the waterfront were a little disjointed and in some cases ineffective. I can remember a case where we were sent out for a guy on a windsurfer off the end of Fort Tabor, and we went out with our little 14-foot rescue boat, and he refused to get in it. He didn't think it was safe to get into the rescue boat, and that's a true story. Actually happened. Okay, training was non-existent, equipment was poor, in many aspects we were ignored and left to others. In 2010, we received a vessel from the city of Boston, which we named the Robert Gonzalez after our former training officer. It was a former Boston fireboat, and it was the first true fireboat that was ever here in the port of New Bedford. While it was effective, it was over 20 years old. It had long served the city of Boston, and it was not ideal for the open waters of Buzzards Bay. With the help of grant money from the Harbor Development Commission, who has been an agency that has helped the fire department on a continuous basis, and we've also helped them. We have this symbiotic relationship that's been going on. So with the help of grant money from them, we rehabbed the boat and we began training in earnest to be an effective response partner in our harbor, but not only our harbor, but in the region itself. And we are part of a regional response plan going forward. Since then, we've had hundreds of responses on the bay. We've saved multiple lives. We've had a major impact on cleaning the water quality here in Buzzards Bay. And in the historic winter that passed 2 years ago in 2015, we were conducting ice-breaking operations out here on the harbor for 18 straight days. The fire department ran an icebreaker. Okay, I was very proud of that accomplishment.
You were driving it.
I was driving it. Had a hell of a time doing it too. Today behind me is the culmination of 6 years of work and effort by the members of the fire department. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, they stand ready to respond to the needs of the community and our region. With the addition of Marine 38 behind us, we have a state-of-the-art response vessel that a port of our importance requires. It's also a regional asset and again, part of that coordinated response plan for the region. This could not have been accomplished without help. The Harbor Development Commission, the U.S. Coast Guard, the New Bedford Police Department all worked with us together in order to make this happen through a port security grant. It took multiple tries. We didn't get it the first time out. We had to learn as we went where we had gone wrong, and we got better at it each time that we put it in. And with a lot of background work, the success is behind us. Once we had the grant, we had to find matching funds. And that, over a year's time was spent trying to find a package to put that together. But with a little luck, we pulled it all together. Mr. Sky was a great help as usual putting the package together, and the mayor and the council graciously provided the funding needed to complete this package. This would not have been possible without the 75% of the funding coming from the federal government. Can you imagine me walking into the mayor's office with Ari and asking for $900,000 for a boat? He'd still be laughing today if I asked out of the budget for a straight $900,000. But we were able to put together through the collective efforts a series of funding sources that we were able to accomplish this. And many thought this would have been impossible, but again, here it is behind us today. It also takes a team to accomplish goals like this, and I'd like to thank the members of our staff who helped me make this happen. In particular, Captain Stephen Medeiros, who's the head of our Marine Safety Unit, and also District Chief Stephen Bullia. They both worked with me on the specifications for designing this vessel throughout the project. It has been my policy to name our fireboats after members who have died in the line of duty. In December of 1993, Lieutenant Jesse Pacheco died while serving this community as lieutenant on ladder number 3. Today we recognize this service by naming Marine 38 the Jesse Pacheco Jr. This vessel has a proud name on her sides, the New Bedford Fire Department, but it also has a proud name on its stern. Okay, and that proud name is Jesse Pacheco Jr. May she keep those who protect our city safe going forward. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Chief. And the last person I want to call up is Ari Sky, our CFO. I think a lot of folks have been amazed at what the city has been able to pay for, despite the fire department and everywhere else across city government, despite the resource constraints, and it's because the city's finances are now being better managed than they've ever been before. That's why the city's bond rating is the highest in the city's history. We've been able to make up for having limited resources by making very, very smart financial decisions in running city government. And the guy who heads it all is Ari Sky. Ari.
Thank you. I get to do the boring stuff now and talk about the numbers. So this project kind of came to our attention when we did our first capital needs assessment, I believe, which was 3 years ago. Well, I wouldn't say that there was laughter. There was definitely prioritization going on, and you had a fire department that needed, new apparatus, needed a ladder truck, needed all sorts of things, and the fireboat was probably not as high up on the list. To his great credit, Chief Gomes went out and worked his tail off to get this grant. The grant is paying for 75% of the project. The total project cost is $950,000, so the grant's about $712,500. There's also money that HDC keeps in boat maintenance fees for fire response. That's about $76,000, and then the city itself provided $117,500. $17,500 last year, and $100,000 in the budget this year. Part of planning and putting together a program is trying to see what's coming up and making sure you're able to account for it. Unfortunately, we're able to do that in this case. We're very pleased. I took a look at the chief gave me a personal tour before this all started of the boat, and it really is a beauty. You should be very proud, by the way, Mr. Chico. And it's really going to be a real great credit to the harbor, especially at a time when, as the mayor said, some really terrific things are happening. So credit to the chief and the mayor and the city council for all the great work that they do. Thank you.
All right, so I lied a little bit. The chief's going to come back up and talk a little bit about specs, because I think some people, particularly boaters in the audience, might want to know a little bit about how this thing is built and made up, just how fast it goes. I know the kids in the audience want to hear all that, so Chief, why don't you fill in a couple of those details?
Yeah, some of the specific details. The vessel behind us is actually a catamaran hull. And the idea behind the catamaran hull, it gives us the ability to work out in Buzzards Bay, where there's always a consistent chop. We're able to move at higher speeds under those conditions. So it's a catamaran hull. It is 38 feet 10 inches long, weighs 21,000 pounds. It has a beam of 13.6 wide, so it's a very stable platform for us to be able to operate out on the waters of the bay. It is propelled by water jets. There is not a propeller or a rudder on this vessel, and that there are twin Cummins 425 horsepower engines that pump water at great pressure, and the water jets steer the vessel and provide propulsion. It will operate at about 40 miles an hour or 35 knots out on the bay itself. We can also maintain full maneuverability while engaging the fire pump without the loss of the ability to move or maneuver. It will basically pump over 1,500 gallons of water per minute. It has supplied air breathing systems on board, forward-looking infrared, side-scan sonar, integrated chart plotters and radar. It is a state-of-the-art vessel, and we're extremely proud of having it added to our fleet going forward. Pretty much all the boats that we had prior to this were used and came from somebody else when they were done with them. So this is the first time that we've actually had a purposely built fireboat straight from the shipyard, and we're extremely proud to be on it. One of the interesting points, though, is that we went out to California for sea trials, and the shipyard is on San Francisco Bay. And as we passed under the Golden Gate Bridge, we came into a pod of whales that were jumping and around us as we were making our way through the opening under the Golden Gate Bridge. So maybe it's appropriate that whales met the Whaling City's vessel.
Did you bring your harpoon?
We didn't bring a harpoon. That's not allowed any longer. So I thought that was a little fitting that there was a series of whales waiting for us as we made our way out through underneath the Golden Gate Bridge.
All right, thanks, Mike. All right, so it's my honor to introduce Cindy Pacheco, the widow of Jesse Pacheco, in whose name, in whose honor this boat will be named, and it'll be christened by her family in a moment. But Mrs. Pacheco, as I said, we're very proud of this moment for you. We're very happy for this opportunity, and just ask you to say a few words.
My husband would be very proud. No, I'm going to hold it just in case. If I have a panic attack, I'll be
Fine.
Hi, everybody. I want to thank everybody, the City of New Bedford, Chief Gomes, and the New Bedford Fire Department and all of Jess's friends and colleagues for coming today. It is a fitting tribute to have this boat named after Jess. He had such a love for the ocean all his life, from child to the Coast Guard, serving in Japan at West Chop, and in search and rescue for 3.5 years with the United States Coast Guard. He passed that love on to his children, sharing wonderful memories as family on our Sumer and Sam, our fishing boat. If there was a boat when Jess was on the fire department, he would have been the first one on it. The ocean was the cure for everything, Jess. It was the solution for every ailment you had. If you had poison ivy, go down into the ocean, go for a swim. It'll dry it all up. It was fortunate we lived right up the street from East Beach. It certainly saved a lot of money on doctor's visits and Calamine lotion. Jesse's love and passion for his job, the fire department, Station 6, and all the guys, his friends and family, matches his love for the ocean. From the bottom of our hearts, on behalf of Jess and my family, we thank you for this honor and will treasure it forever. Thank you. I'm not a public speaker.
You did great.
Thank you. You love your Oh, okay, thanks.
All right, in the moment you've been waiting for, we're going to go ahead and christen the vessel.
God our Father, we ask you to bless this vessel. As the Mayor-in-Chief talked today, we talked about the richness of the harbor of New Bedford, but the real treasure is those who work on this harbor, but those who protect the harbor too, and share their life. And we pray with gratitude for Mrs. Pacheco, the sacrifices you made in her family, Lieutenant Jesse Pacheco, who will be honored by this vessel. And we pray for all of those who, our own department, the fire department, those who serve this community, that they truly honor the name that so proudly is on this boat as they live their lives with dignity and trust and serve the community of New Bedford so very well. May they be safe, may those who protect us be rewarded by God's goodness, and may that blessing remain upon this vessel, but especially Mrs. Pacheco's family and all those who gather this day in his name. Amen. Now you can see my blood
Batter up.
No, you just stick some greens. We're going here? Yeah, right around the end. You ready? What's better than? Watch yourself, Jesse. Watch yourself.
Looks like you did that before, Jordan.
Yeah.